it's definitely taught me to be a lot more grateful for those little things. It's very beautiful to have your family. At times when you're both working, like everybody's working there, like I mentioned, it's bickering here and there, and it's like, I can't, like, I wish I can work somewhere else. Now I look back at it, and it was beautiful memories that I have.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key podcast. We're excited to bring you another episode today, and I'm excited because this is a topic that is always interesting to Scott and I, talking about food and restaurants in the San Gabriel Valley. But before we get into that, just a reminder, we've partnered with San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram at sgv.now and read their new SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Well, Scott, it's really easy to get into an intro when we're talking about food, right? I know you love food.
Yes. Yeah, it's very easy. And, it's just a coincidence, but our guest today is from a restaurant that I've gone to many times, so I can actually vouch for it. I've been there many times, and just delicious Mexican food.
Yeah. And the location, I think, is someone who lives in the San Gabriel Valley. If you mention, they know where it is. This is an iconic place in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, it is. It's tied in with another business, the Mission Car Wash, right next to it. And yeah, I think everybody knows it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have our guest, and I'm excited to hear their story and share it with you. Today, our guest is Daisy Flores. She's a restaurateur and a social worker, and the restaurant is called Tia Gladys. Daisy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yes, the restaurant is named Tia Gladys. Like Scott mentioned, it's definitely a big part of the San Gabriel Valley. The school district visit us a lot, as well as the San Gabriel Police Department as well. Very much just locals. I've seen everybody pretty much growing up.
How long has the restaurant been there?
The restaurant has been there for about 35 plus years. My dad has been managing it.
All that time?
No, not all that time.
Oh.
So when the restaurant opened up, it was managed by the actual owner, which is the actual owner of the whole lot, the Mission Car Wash, oil change, and the restaurant. And 4 years in, the owner was actually gonna close it down. And then my dad came in. He was only 23 years old, and he started working there. He has been working at restaurants his whole entire life. Immigrant from Mexico, he worked at restaurants. We're from a little place in Mexico named Nayarit, which is a very tourist place by the beach, by the coast. And that's pretty much where he started working, at the beach. So he pretty much has been working restaurants, at a restaurant his whole life. Like I said, his whole childhood was by the beach where a lot of tourists were. And he came here. He actually used to work down in Pasadena, a restaurant close by. And then he got the opportunity to work there as a dishwasher. And he's seen that the manager there was just not, the food, the authenticity of it wasn't there. And
at the original, where you are now?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. And he just kind of took everything into his hands. He built that relationship with the owner, and he took initiative. And Silvia, which is the owner, decided to, give him the management position, and it's been under his management for,
more than 30 years.
Yes,
huh?
Exactly. More than 30 years now.
So if you are a resident of the San Gabriel Valley, I'm sure you've been to this intersection at least, or driven by it. It's the Mission Car Wash. It's on San Gabriel and Mission. And I mean, it's a really large lot, right? And there's always so much going on there.
I think it's the busiest car wash I've ever been to.
Yeah, it really is.
Extremely busy, always busy. And then your restaurant is east of San Gabriel at the corner of the lot, right next to the car wash.
Yes, exactly.
And I always thought, what a fascinating business model that you have these people who are getting their car washed and they have to wait often, right? They're like, oh, there's this restaurant right here that I can go eat. Is that where a lot of your customers come from?
Yes, but not necessarily. A lot of them have tasted the food, waiting, but it's people just come in without even having to need a car wash, right? We've built that relationship with families. There's actually like people down the block that I've seen, lady pregnant, and then now her kids go with her grandkids, and it's beautiful.
What is your father's name?
His name is Chito. He goes by Chito.
Chito.
Yes.
Okay, and if they go into the restaurant, they can see him?
Yes, exactly. He's always cooking. He's the sweetest man ever. If you are a local or if, a returning customer, and if you go, that he'll be there greeting you.
So I know who your father is because I've been there many times, and you're right. He is the nicest person. I don't think he speaks English.
He doesn't fully speak it, but he can understand it.
Yeah, I'm
Me
sure.
and my sisters will try and sneak in a little conversation here and there, and he's listening, and he fully understands it.
Yeah,
and then he'll communicate in Spanish.
Does. Yeah. But he probably doesn't really feel comfortable talking, speaking it.
Yeah.
But because I've never really had a conversation, but I've certainly interacted with him, and he's always behind, the counter, cooking, and he must do all the cooking.
Yes,
I don't see others.
He makes sure to prepare everything. That man is there day and night. Even on his days off, on Mondays are his only days off, he goes in to do paperwork, but he'll stay there up to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, preparing everything. Salsas, everything. Like I mentioned, we just had a conversation over the chile rellenos, and he is so big on that. Chile rellenos, he has to do them. I grew up there. I've been there since I'm 13, and I've tried to learn or have him, step away and for me to do a little bit more, but it has to be him.
Who does help him on the off day?
There, like I said, it's been people working there. They've been there for years. So it's been someone else that's been there for years. I think my dad's been there for about 30 years. So I'm thinking Nicholas has been there around 20 years. So he's the one that takes over, but that's the only day, which is Mondays.
Awesome. Well, this show, we're telling the stories of the people who make up the San Gabriel Valley. And what's amazing is, people who go there who may listen to this show, now you get an inside look at the history behind the restaurant and the family behind it. So I'd like to go back, and if you can share how your family or father came to be in this area, in the San Gabriel Valley. When did they make that decision?
My dad came here around when he was 20 years old. He stayed here in Pasadena, Alhambra area for a while. And then I believe when I was 3 or 4 years old, we moved over to La Puente. But San Gabriel has been a huge part of my life. I have a few aunts, his sister that lives in Alhambra, another relative that lives here in Rosemary, which is, huge. I actually went to Rosemary High School I attempted to go there for a bit, but I went back. But San Gabriel has been, I know every kind of little street, although I did not physically live here, but it was basically living here in a way.
So you went to Rosemead High School?
I literally went there for a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you start working in the restaurant soon after high school?
I've been working at the restaurant since I was 13 years old. I guess legally at 14, but I was there at 13. In the back, my sisters on the weekends, they were in the back in the office sleeping while me and my mom prepared everything. My dad was in the back cooking. Yeah, it's my cousins, aunts have also had a chance and the opportunity to work there for us.
That's a similar story to at least one other person, but maybe a lot of immigrants' families where the parents come and they're trying to establish themselves here, and they'll open a restaurant, and the whole family comes together to help. That's quite an experience. I mean, I'm not familiar with that, but what does that do to a family, growing in an environment like that?
It's a beautiful thing. It definitely can be like you bicker here and there, right? But definitely it's a beautiful thing. Like I mentioned, I get to see people grow up, and not only that, but share that professional environment with your siblings or cousins, aunts. Yeah, so it's definitely a beautiful thing. Like you said, many immigrants do go through this thing where we're trying to build a business for ourselves, and just like the whole family comes together, and it's truly a beautiful thing. It truly is.
How big is your family?
It's not so big. It's just my parents, and then it's 3 girls. We're all girls, and both of my parents don't really have much family out here. But the little family that we do have out here have been involved in the restaurant sometime in their life.
And your mother also?
Yeah, my mother
works there?
Yeah, they no longer, I'm just part of the social media management now, which I take care of TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that, helping my dad out. That's been like a huge thing that he's kind of old school. So I tried to push that whole social media thing for a while, and he finally came through. And now, that's how we met. And now, yeah, I take care of that. But I actually went through adult divorce. So like you said, that environment was beautiful. And now that I've overcame that, I understand that I didn't appreciate it as much. It's something very, very beautiful. I wish, life happens, but now it's just me and my dad. My sister went her own way. My mom now works for another restaurant. Yeah, but
oh, wow.
Yeah. But
sorry, when you said you went through a divorce, you or your parents?
My parents.
Oh.
What I mean by adult divorce is I was already older. I was already like 19 years old. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And sorry, we don't have to go into this if you don't want to.
No.
So did your sister choose to go on and help your mom, and you chose to stay with your dad?
No, well, we're all a lot older, but I've always had that closer relationship with my dad. Like I said, I started there very young. My sister came in a little bit after me, so I kind of know a little bit more. And then just my mom went through her own way. I mean, I still live with my mom. My dad just went his own separate way, but we're still very, very close. Although we went through that whole adult divorce. I went through the whole adult divorce situation as a kid. But it's definitely taught me to be a lot more grateful for those little things, like you said. It's very beautiful to have your family. At times when you're both working, like everybody's working there, like I mentioned, it's bickering here and there, and it's like, I can't, I wish I could work somewhere else. Now I look back at it, and it was beautiful memories that I have.
I mentioned earlier in the show that you're also a social worker. When did that thought come into your life where you wanted to pursue that?
The restaurant actually is what gave me that thought. Like I mentioned, I worked at the restaurant very young at 13, and I was literally there day and night with my dad. It was from going after school to going to the restaurant and closing. And I was just being a business owner. You're there day and night, especially as a restaurant. You're there day and night. And don't get me wrong, I love it now that I'm older. I understand, that's what my dad wanted, but I definitely wanted something different, more like an 8 through 5 thing. But yeah, that pretty much came about. Also, a client there at the restaurant was a social worker, and I remember specifically I was 13 years old, and she came in with her like laptop and everything, heels, very dressed up nicely. And I looked at her like amazed, and I was like, my dad was like, oh, she's a social worker. She like works for, I think she worked for San Gabriel school district, I think. And that was, I remember that like specifically, like a really clear memory. And I just thought, wow, like what an elegant lady, you know, so professional. And yeah, that pretty much kind of like opened my mind, and I just pursued college. I just knew that I needed to get a degree.
You said you went. You were living in La Puente, or maybe you live there now. But did you go to high school there?
Yeah.
And okay, and then you decided to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go to college?
I went to Cal State LA.
And you went there with the hope of being educated as a social worker. That was what you were looking forward to doing, right?
Yes, exactly. It was either social work or business. But then I went in college undeclared, and then I started kind of taking classes here and there, and sociology was definitely what caught my eye, and I just decided to pursue that. But now I'm actually pursuing a master's in business. Yeah.
And where are you going for that?
Right now, Cal State LA as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so many children, when they're growing up in various environments, they believe that what they're experiencing is just normal, right? Whether it's extremely traumatic or you know, somewhere in a range. But when you look back at it as a child having to go to school, go to work till closing, how do you look back on that? Like, what do you think about looking back on that? Do you realize that that's not normal?
Yeah, definitely. Now that I realized that when I started going to college, it was like, you know, that's not normal. That's something that, you know, older people do, right? Like, but like I said, it taught me a lot, so much. I feel like when I went into college, a lot of people were scared, and I kind of caught myself just blurring out or talking, being the first one to talk in a class. And I definitely feel like the restaurant gave me that skill, that social skill, and it taught me a lot. It taught money management, social skills, time management especially for, you know, doing my homework, making sure that by the time I'm home it's done, or, you know, making sure I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. It definitely, like you said, it's not normal, but it definitely taught me a lot.
Were you mostly in the front of house?
Yeah.
So socialization is a topic that comes up with young children, teenagers, you know, and often the argument is made that they need school for socialization. My wife and I believe that socialization can and should happen across a wide range of ages, right? That people engage with younger, older, same age. And I sort of view that to go to a school and only socialize with people of your peers is very limiting, right? And I sort of, as I'm older now, I see in let's say teenagers or even college students that have not had a broad range of people to talk to. It's challenging for them, right? But you in the front of the house had to speak to all kinds of people, and I'm sure even like rude customers too, right?
Yeah, definitely. This one time, this is bringing back to an experience where Donald Trump had just been elected, right? And it was this big, tall, white guy, and he comes in and he's like, how do you feel? He spoke very loudly, and he's like, how do you guys feel about Donald Trump being our president now? Everybody's gonna leave or something like that. And I was kind of like, I was just in shock, you know? And my parents are not like, the information is like not processing, right? Like they're busy doing their thing. And I didn't tell the guy off, but I was like, you know, everybody here's an immigrant. Like, if you don't like that, you can go ahead and step out. So definitely, and I was only like, I think I was like in my early 20s. But that was like a huge thing. Like I was standing up to this huge, tall, white man, like in his late 40s probably.
Wow. Well, I think you did the right thing,
Yeah.
and you handled it well. You know, didn't overreact,
Yeah.
but you acted affirmatively. And what was the reaction when you did that? When you
He laughed. He kind of just laughed, and he walked out. But yeah, that was that you say that definitely taught me socializing, not just, you know, with my peers, but standing up to these people and being that person for my parents. And my parents didn't even realize what was going on till like later. Like I go back and I'm like, did you guys not hear that? They're like, no, what's going on? And then my mom's more of, you know, she has more of that Latina attitude, and my dad's more chilled back. And my mom's like, oh, heck no. And she's like, okay, I'm glad he left. And my dad was just kind of like, you know, in shock. But yeah.
So it seems like the restaurant has taught you a lot of valuable skills, and that's like sort of, we heard this before, I think with Marcus, when he was cut off by his parents and thrown, you know, basically with $100 in his bank account and had to learn life skills. But the restaurant has been this like sort of teacher for you, right? And you only got to see that the skills that you had compared to other people when you got to college. Yeah, I mean, other people don't even get to be involved in a business, you know, until much later, but you were seeing from the inside out for a long time.
Yeah.
I can't think of, probably nothing would be better than a restaurant in terms of just developing a broad range of skills.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with the public, dealing with business, dealing with, you know, individual situations like that, and having to know a particular thing, in this case, you know, knowledge about food and the menu and so on. I mean, just a wide range of skills that you
Sure.
develop.
I've known a few restaurateurs, and they're all very different. A former client of mine, who is a restaurateur in Pasadena, he is not a foodie. He's just a businessman, and restaurant happens to be his business, right? And then let's say someone like Sahan, who was a guest here. He's such a relational person that he remembers everybody by name, and that's sort of how he does it. How would you describe how you are as a restaurateur? What is your sort of niche in that space?
I think it's definitely very, like you said, knowing the customer's name and everything. It's very, we have a lot of returning customers, not only the parents, but now the kids, the grandkids, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. It's a beautiful thing, and I think my dad was the one that has definitely developed that. Now I see clients. Just yesterday I was there, and a teacher came in. She works for San Gabriel, and she came in and she just started, you know, catching up with me. We were just basically catching up within life. I remember her kid was also in high school when I was in high school, and now he's also college graduate, and it's a beautiful thing to build that relationship with your customers, and I think they feel it as well, right? That's why they come back.
How do you divide your time now between restaurant work and social work?
Oh my God. Like I said, the restaurant definitely taught me time management, but I'm still getting the hang of that. I'll focus on the restaurant 2 times a week, and then the rest I'll just do social work.
And do you do social work full time?
Yes, I do, Monday through Friday.
And what do you do?
So I actually focused in rehabilitation services, which means kids with disabilities. And during undergrad, I focused a lot on kids 0 to 5. I'm very passionate when it comes to that, child development. So that's what I focused on. I'm a social worker for mental health and disabilities, case management.
What kind of, like, autism? Is that something?
Mm-hmm. Not only autism, Asperger's, other things, ADHD, or even mental health itself, when kids are going through, you know, like a divorce, and they're only 3 years old, and dad's no longer there, and parents are starting to see these behaviors, it's like mental health therapy is a thing for this age. Many people don't realize that, but there is.
How do the families come to you or find you?
That is all within the school district.
Oh,
Yeah, so within the agency that I work for, they'll give me, I'll talk to parents, and then we'll figure out a plan whether they need mental health or not, or they need speech therapy, occupational therapy, all that. Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. So you're the school resource to sort of evaluate what other resources may be necessary for them?
Exactly. Yes.
And so you would make a recommendation for OT, SLP, stuff like that?
Yes.
Wow. And how much time are you given with an individual? Given that this is through the school, not like private assessment.
So you mean like individually with?
Yeah. So let's say like a child is brought before you for an assessment.
Yeah.
Like, how much time do you get with them?
So the first thing is we go through, because there's so little, and there's so much going on within families. So I first look at the family dynamic of what's going on at the household. And then we usually do everything with the teachers, and I'm kind of just the backup person, just because the teachers are with them 24/7 and they see the behaviors. And then that's when I come in and then go into the classroom and take a look and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's sort of what I understood too. So when it comes from the school, you're sort of an advisor for the teacher, but if you were a social worker outside, you would have more direct interaction with the actual child.
So actually I did social work for regional center, and I didn't like it at all. I wasn't a big fan of it, and that's when I went over to the school district and being more hands-on with the kids and families.
What was it like at a regional center? What did you not like?
I'll just keep it short. I think when you don't like your supervisor, you don't like your job, right?
Okay.
Do you now do things like home visits?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So parenting a 3-year-old is challenging. How do you make that connection, or are you evaluating from a distance?
I'm kind of evaluating from a distance, looking at the family dynamic, everything, looking at the behaviors that teachers are telling me. And then that's kind of when it's not only myself, but it's kind of like a team. We get together, we have a meeting, but I'm definitely the person that, I get the resources, make sure that they get the speech therapy, the OT, that early intervention.
Well, this show really diverged into
Yes.
social work, but the show is really about you, and for people who are patrons of the restaurant or know the restaurant to really get a in-depth look at who you are, and this is certainly a part of who you are. Daisy, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with you. What did you bring with you today?
I brought a $2 bill. This bill was given to me by a client that is very special to me. Her and her husband would, this one's just plain, but the husband would make it sometimes into like little pants or a hat or a shirt, and anytime they would walk in, I would be so excited for my tip, because it would be a $2 bill in the shape of pants or hats. I didn't bring that, but this is the one that she gave me. I think it was like one of the very last times I was working there as a waitress, and I saved it. She told me to keep it in my wallet or on my phone or somewhere with me always, and that's what I've been doing. It's been with me for years.
Wow.
So it's a good luck charm.
Yes, it's a good luck charm. That's what she said. And I built that relationship with her, and she helped me a lot through college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is that the only piece of currency that you have kept? Or, when people leave tips, have there been other special, ones that you have kept, or is this the only thing?
This one and a bracelet. There was an older man that worked, if you know the restaurant, the restaurant's like right next to a retirement home. There was this older man that would go a lot, and at the time he was still able to walk and, provide for himself. And he once left me a bracelet, and he was like the sweetest man ever. And I kept the bracelet, and it's still there with my jewelry and stuff. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I have a friend who always carries around $2 bills, and he gives them as tips. Do you see this quite often?
That's, yes. That she was the person, that couple was the people that would do that. They would,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how do you guys have so many $2 bills? You know, they're like very odd, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would make sure to keep them. Yeah. Yeah.
What is it like? You know, it just kind of dawned on me. Like, what kind of customers are good customers? What are bad customers? I mean, there's some obvious situations, but like,
yeah, you would think like if you don't work in a restaurant business, for example, like my husband, he doesn't work in a restaurant business, and you think like leaving a good tip is, you know, a good customer, and of course you're always grateful for that, right? But I think just a good customer is like, I guess, if it's busy, not asking for too much, and just like thank you, and just manners, I guess. I mean, I don't
which
even,
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who's acting decent.
Yeah, exactly.
What would be indecent? Like every time the server comes to ask for something else? Is that?
You kind of, it would be a little like annoying when, you know, I'm like bringing you like, you know, salsa, and then you're like, oh, can I also have this? It's like, you should have asked for everything all at once. I'm rushing in and out of the back kitchen. But I completely understand if it's like a big party. But yeah, that's definitely, you would think, you know, tip. And of course, like I said, I'm very grateful for anything. But even if you don't leave a tip and you're nice, I'll be grateful for you.
Are there people that don't leave tips?
Yeah, there's some people.
Is it very often that you see that?
No, it's not as often.
But
Yeah.
your restaurant has how many tables? And you have indoor and outdoor.
Yeah. It's changed. I think now it's about like 50.
50 tables.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
40 to 50 tables.
How
I
many
think people cook.
persons does it take to staff that?
So on the
As
week,
far as weight persons.
yeah.
You know.
So on the weekends, we have to have 3 to 4 people out. Like it's a small business. So just 3 to 4 people in the patio and then inside. Yeah.
Are there times of the year where you're busier at the restaurant?
Yes, of course. I think like with every business, during January and February after the holidays, it's when it slows down. That's the time my dad's the most stressed out. But he understands being in the restaurant business for years. He's like, you know, like we always get through this.
Does he still get worried about,
Yes.
can we make it?
Yes.
And after all that time, still gets worried.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we've had other restaurateurs here, and a common theme that we've asked them is how did you guys handle COVID? I mean, you're obviously still here in business, so you weathered that storm. But what was that like for you?
It was very stressful for my dad. Very stressful. At the time, we didn't have the patio, so that's something that opened up during COVID. Now, actually, I have bad news. If any active listeners that do go to the restaurant, the city's actually having us bring that down by October 15th. Yeah, the patio, which brings the most not only income but space on the weekends for our customers. And it's a very, like, the ambiance is beautiful, you know, it's really nice. And my dad pour his like heart and soul into there, making sure he had the correct plans, everything. And yeah, we try to fight it, but unfortunately there's not much we can do. I'm really planning to maybe doing a petition, but we don't know yet. I'm still waiting on that.
I seem to remember you had some outdoor even before COVID, though.
Yeah, we did, but my dad ended up closing it up, so now it's just the length.
Oh.
Like it's just an addition to the restaurant indoor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so that where you walk through the front, that was an addition during COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Did you guys move mostly to takeout during that time, or how did you guys
Yeah,
get through that?
It was mostly takeout. It was just all takeout. I mean, now the hours even changed. She started closing Mondays. It wasn't enough. but he overcame that. He definitely overcame that. It definitely kind of opened his eyes too. That's when I started pushing, like, Dad, let's do DoorDash, let's do Grubhub, like, you know, let's do these delivery services. Although they do take a lot of percentage of any active listeners are listening.
Yeah, I've heard that that's a problem.
Yeah, it takes about 35% out of the
total bill.
Yes, of
that's so. How can you make a profit?
You really don't.
Yeah. You
really don't. So now, as myself, when I go to other small businesses, or not even small businesses, I'm like so big on having my sisters and my husband do it. I have them call the actual restaurant to do a pickup.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be a delivery. So it just a heads up.
Well, I don't understand. I mean, I've heard that, but I've also heard like there's these huge like service fees on it. I don't use Grubhub and DoorDash and whatnot, but I would see people post on social media like there's this $9 charge on their $12 meal or something like that. But in addition to that, you get charged 35%.
Yes, the 35%. Wow. Yes. So the fee is like for, I guess, to pay the person that's picking up and bringing it to you.
Okay.
And then another 35% is for us using Grubhub, that middleman.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So call the restaurant directly.
Yes, call the restaurant directly. That's the message, exactly.
And would you still deliver? Or is that call for takeout?
The call's just for takeout. Unless you're doing delivery, you know, then of course you use
But your
Grubhub.
restaurant hasn't traditionally done delivery.
Yeah, we
your
don't.
Own in-house.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's just delivery through Grubhub or Uber Eats or these other companies. Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible. I mean, food cost is supposed to be like 25%, 30% maxed, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think I've used that service once. Have you ever used a delivery service?
If I have, I don't remember. I mean, I'm not, luckily I'm not that tech savvy, so I wouldn't even know how to. But I wouldn't generally. I like to go to a restaurant myself.
Yeah.
So I think I used them only once, and I was shocked from where like I was making the selection to like checkout. There was like this just huge jump.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't understand. I think my meal cost, $45, and I only got a few items, but yeah. Well, I sort of want to go into what future plans you have for the restaurant, for yourself, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. To thank our sponsor, Warmouth Law. At Warmouth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. They've been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them today at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast. All right, we're back with Daisy with Tia Gladys Restaurant. Daisy, what do you have in store for the future of the restaurant? Where do you envision it going or being in the next 5-10 years?
For my dad, I'll definitely, still be there, but I do have plans to build something else a lot bigger. But that's within myself and my dad. I do have big goals within the restaurant, but that definitely is going to take time within the next 5 to 10 years, building something like, we don't offer any, we offer beer, but we don't offer any tequila because the license is extremely expensive. So later on within these 5-10 years, building something more like ambiance when it comes to drinking like that.
Oh, at the current location?
Not at the current location, somewhere else. I definitely want to expand and help my dad out in that aspect of bringing up something maybe like a Tia Gladys Cantina thing with that authentic Mexican food that you don't see at these cantina places. You definitely go to these places and, you have your drink, but the food is not authentic.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. What the street there is Gladys. Mm-hmm. Can you just give us the background on the name?
Yeah, I mean it's there, right? Tia Gladys because of the street, and just
wow, because there's a Scott Street right right close to there. You could have named it after me.
Oh, no, it's right here. Isn't it right here, like a buck?
It's a couple. Yeah, I know Scott and Gladys are intersect at some point.
Yeah.
Not far.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, your next
for the
one,
next
open
business.
it on Scott.
Theo Scott's.
Theo Scott.
Scott.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so you want to expand into another location. Another question I wanted to ask you: what's the story behind the Mexican flag in all the meals?
My dad does that. I don't know. It's his signature thing.
I've never noticed that.
So what? Can you explain to Scott?
Yeah, I don't know. My dad has this thing where he likes to add like the Mexican little flag. I don't think he used to do it years ago. Something that I've been kind of pushing my dad is, I mean, it looks appetizing, right? But you go to these other like restaurants and everything's so like with these fancy plates and like the flowers and everything, and I like kind of push my dad, be like, Dad, like plate it better, for pictures and stuff, now that I do social media and stuff.
Now people take pictures a lot.
Yeah, so that's been my push, and his thing is add a Mexican flag on it.
Oh, so is that something he just started doing?
He just started.
Oh, I never have seen that.
Yeah, he started doing it.
With like a toothpick or something?
Yeah, it's like a toothpick, and it comes with a little flag, and he'll like put it on the lemon or anything, but that's his thing of...
that's new.
Yes. Like I said, he's very old school, so I try to definitely push presentation, social media, all that.
Are you manage the social media account?
Yes.
So how is that for you? Are you enjoying that?
I do. Actually, I started the only reason why I started doing it for him is because I started my own TikTok of cooking.
Oh, you started your TikTok of cooking.
I started my own TikTok of cooking, and I kind of went viral with one video. It hit like I think it has now like 2 million views, and it kind of just went out there. Those recipes are definitely some of my dad's. So if you go on there.
Is it you cooking at home, or you cooking in the restaurant?
No, me cooking at home.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, I love cooking. I have it in my blood. I like to say I have it in my blood. Yeah, I love cooking, and it just came about. I started doing TikTok, and then I saw like, people commenting, liking and stuff, and that's when I just kind of became more on the social media side, and then that's when I was like, TikTok started becoming a thing, right? It's the easiest platform for you to grow. And yeah, I had my dad, I'm like, Dad, we need to get on social media and stuff, and yeah, I've been taking care of that. It's growing slowly, but it's there.
So now I'm confused. So for someone who likes to cook, to say that you can't get a chile relleno recipe right is sort of, there's something wrong there. So maybe he doesn't want to let go of making that, right?
That's my dad's thing. His thing is, and if any of our listeners are, I think even with any other culture, he has this thing where when you fluff up the egg with the chile relleno, you can't look at it. Another eyes can't look at it.
Oh,
so
what?
he has this thing, and that's his thing.
It sounds like he's just guarding the secret.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I tell him. That's exactly what I tell him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully next time I go in there, there'll be some chile relleno, because last time I went, I was sad that I couldn't get it. But,
yeah.
Well, that's funny. That's funny with the recipe thing. But I want to transition into getting to know some other things that you love, specifically what you love about the San Gabriel Valley.
So Daisy, we like to talk about our guests' 3 favorite places to go in the San Gabriel Valley, or experiences, things that you might have seen or done that are meaningful. We call it SGV3. And I'm sure for a lot of people, your restaurant would be on that list. I know right now I'm thinking of heading over there. But what are 3 of your favorite things to see or do?
Definitely. Well, one of them, of course, is the restaurant. But definitely the parks. I think. What is it? Those like garden parks. The
Huntington Gardens.
Yeah, the Huntington.
Huntington Library.
Yeah, the library. That one's beautiful. I definitely like to go there. I love just the fact that San Gabriel itself has a variety of things, right? You have like these like little festivals that they do for the community, as well as like street vendors, and you can find a street vendor every other place, and I think a melting pot as well of different diversities. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So there's places like, as you say, the Huntington Library, but some more informal things like the street festivals. And I know San Gabriel does have at least one or two festivals a year.
They have something at the Mission,
Yeah, they do.
right?
Yes.
Didn't that just happen recently?
Yes, it just recently happened.
What is
Yeah.
that called again?
I'm not sure. I don't know exactly the name. But yes, I do actually. That was a big part of my childhood too, because I believe my dad would also donate for them. I think he donated a few times there. So it's beautiful.
And it's like for families to go there, right? Like they have
Yes.
games and activities there. Have you ever been there, Scott?
No, I haven't.
Have you been to Play Days? I think it's called in Monterey Park at Barnes Park. Have you been there? So there's like that kind of. Actually, that's a carnival.
Yeah.
But I think they may have some games or rides at the San Gabriel one too.
Yeah, they were actually doing something called Hours After Dark, I believe, for parks, and they were doing it, and I know they were doing it at the Mission, and it was beautiful. They had like, for kids, they had like what is it, like characters and like stuff for dogs. It was really nice.
Yeah, the street fairs.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that kind of thing.
Oh, here we go. It says San Gabriel Mission Fiesta at the Mission, and actually it says this one's going to be held September 4th.
Oh, okay.
Okay, awesome. I sort of like to explore street vendors and those things. So do you have a favorite that you go to?
Yes, in La Puente. It's close to La Puente. There's this one specific guy that he sits by Amor and Temple, I believe, and he's just always there selling ice cream.
Ice cream?
Yes.
Selling ice cream?
Yes.
Like homemade stuff?
Homemade ice
What?
cream. Homemade Mexican ice cream. Yes.
What is Mexican ice cream?
It's called like nieve de grafa. So what it is, it's I think it's like they put everything together and they stir everything in a bucket of ice, and the ice cream, like the ingredients for the ice cream are in a like how do I explain it? Like I don't know, it's just like a pot, and they mix everything within the ice on the side, and then they're stirring for hours and hours. I think it's like 3 to 5 hours, and they're stirring everything up, and it eventually becomes ice cream, and it's homemade.
What?
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and there's also, is it called paletas?
Paletas.
Paletas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are like on
Those
a stick.
are, yeah, exactly. Those are the,
yeah.
Yeah. The other one is more, it's called nieve de grafa. It's just like in a cup.
I've never heard of that, a vendor doing homemade hand-churned ice cream before.
Yes, exactly.
And that's at La Puente
Yeah.
and
And you'll find those
Or-
a lot in La Puente.
Amar.
Really?
Did you say?
Yeah, Amar. Yeah.
Amar and Temple.
I think so.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but
Okay.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Are there a lot of elote
Yes.
people there? Oh my gosh. Have you ever had that, Scott?
Yeah.
Probably he's not.
I don't know what that is.
The elotes on the stick? No.
Corn.
Corn on a stick.
Oh, the corn on
yeah,
the stick.
corn
Oh,
on
yeah.
the stick.
But how they do it is like with mayonnaise and cheese.
Yeah,
and
that's
Yeah.
right.
the,
Yeah.
I forget what the chili powder is
yeah,
called.
the chili powder.
Yeah. Have you ever had that, Scott?
I have, yeah. It's grilled.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes it can be grilled, or sometimes they boil it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing sort of burnt, charred.
Yeah.
I mean, not, too much so, but
Yeah.
yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So growing up in Monterey Park, there was a guy that would come by and I've not seen one in a very long time around here. But
Yeah, around San Gabriel, that's something funny. Around here in the area, I don't think there's much, but definitely going towards Puente area, West Covina area, there's more. But yeah.
Actually, not to end the show on a sad note, but I've seen, just because of social media, like lots of street vendors getting like attacked, their operations being destroyed, and the community sort of comes together to.
By who? Why?
Just vigilantes who are upset that they're there. Like they'll spit in their food, or they'll destroy their
that's terrible.
setup, and it gets caught on video now with the ease of capturing it. Yeah, I mean a rise in it, I would say, that I've seen that I've never seen before. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But what happens afterwards is, because of the presence of social media, the community just comes together and
protects
them,
vendor.
supports them, comes to do business with them, and sometimes even raises money to rebuild their business.
Oh, that's good, because that's the kind of color you want in a community. Just different things, different.
Sure.
And especially when it's food, like everybody loves food.
Yeah. Well, Daisy, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing the story of the restaurant and your story. Can you tell people where the restaurant is? And
Well, the restaurant is, like Scott mentioned, it's kind of like a big right here in San Gabriel. It's on Gladys. It's the address is specifically 921 South Gladys Avenue. I memorized that. That was my first address I memorized as a kid. We do have breakfast specials Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 o'clock. You do get 6 breakfast plates to choose from, along with a coffee or a fountain drink. Just come visit us. It's authentic Mexican food.
What's a dish that you guys are famous for or known for?
Like you said, the chile rellenos, chile verde is really good, and the chilaquiles are to die for breakfast.
Awesome. And where can they find you on social media?
On social media, you can follow us on Instagram at Tia Gladys Restaurant. On TikTok, it's Tia Gladys Restaurant with 2 S's at the end. And then I'm still getting the hold of getting the Facebook pages merged together, because someone loved us so much that created a Facebook page for us, and everybody has been checking in there. But yeah, I'm working on merging those 2 together.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Best of luck in the future. I know Scott's probably just been imagining.
I'm just thinking huevos rancheros.
Oh yeah, those are really
Is that
good
on the
too.
breakfast
Yes.
chilaquiles?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I definitely have to go check that out. Well, there you go. There's another show for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can always reach us at sgvmasterkey.com. Email us at info@sgvmasterkey.com. And we will see you again next week.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.